All right, you bunch of yahoos, strap yourselves in for another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity.
In other words, shut up, sit up, and pay attention.
Where can people go, I guess, to find out more about your campaign and to know more about, especially Arizona natives?
If they want to go check out elifораrizona.com. That's our website. If you guys want to find me on social media, it's just Eli Crane _CEO. So I'm also a brand ambassador for SIG Sauer firearms. So I love shooting. I love, getting out and
you live in the right state.
Shooting around a little bit. So I'd had my daughter out a couple weeks ago. We were shooting my 6.5 Cross. SIG has a new, they call it the Cross. It's a hunting rifle / precision rifle. Yeah. If I was a sniper in the SEAL teams, if we would have had that rifle, I would have carried it totally because it's super lightweight, doesn't recoil a ton.
Like a Creedmoor, 6.5
Yeah,
Creedmoor?
yes, sir. It's got a modular adjustable buttstock. It's a phenomenal weapon, and she was shooting targets and just having a good time. But yeah, I like that job. That's a cool gig.
Do you have just one daughter, or do you have other children?
I have two. I have a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Okay.
Yep.
He said that earlier if you were listening.
Well, excuse me,
Yeah,
Mr. Frye.
Your memory. Even I remember that one, Severn.
You guys, part of the set has to be like a small octagon. When these two get out of hand, they just go and work it out,
Big plastic glove.
Right.
Big sumo suits.
There you go.
It's not bad. We can't wear trunks anymore. We have to wear depends. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I tell you what, though, I was so fired up when I heard you that day, man. I think you're an amazing speaker.
Thank you, brother. Well, it was cool because he called into the studio, and
they hung up on me.
Ryan kind of runs the show for Garrett, and he's like, "Hey, Don Frye called, and he wanted me to give you his number." I was like, "Don Frye?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Dude, I know that guy. I used to watch him all the time." And I was like, "Give me his number." So he gave me his number. He checked it a couple times, and so I text this guy, and then never hear anything from him. And then I don't know, maybe a month.
Don's not exactly technology savvy. The social media stuff. He's not real socially.
Then like a month and a half later, he shows up. I'm speaking down at the Fire Truck Brewing Company down the road, and he shows up, and I'm like, holy shit, dude, it's Don Frye, man. And he had Quinn with him. I got to talk to this guy, man.
So he picks my wallet.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Right.
Navy SEAL pickpocket.
Right.
Perfect candidate.
No, but that's just cool, man. And I think one of the coolest thing is that you're still engaged because, I realize that, man. It's like at some point it gets easy to quit fighting. It gets easy to just tune out. You get tired. It's like, but I love seeing citizens, and I use that word strongly, that like understand that you can't just check out, and you've got to continue to give back. Like you're teaching, Dan, you're teaching kids, what's important, and it's like, and you guys are doing this podcast, and to me, that's, you guys are engaging in the fight still. Because this is a lot. I talked about culture a second ago. Politics is one vertical of culture, and media is a big part of it too. And you guys are engaging in that. And because of your platforms and who you guys are and were, people will tune in and listen for 30 seconons.
At least. I mean, I always say that you only get a certain time to hook them in, whether they like you or they hate you or something like that.
Exactly.
That's where. Don and I really don't have no future in politics because we're kind of like a couple of blunt, crusty old farts right there that, don't have.
We're like the old men in the Muppet Show, the old men that sit up in the...
Well, it was funny because I went into, when I first started going down this path, I went in, one of the first things they had me do was go to D.C. so I could meet like people that are in leadership positions in politics. And one of the top leaders on the Republican side of the House, he took one look at me and he's like, "Hey, you got to shave your beard." And he's like, because he said you'll lose 2 to 3 percentage points because people in America, when they see you with facial hair, they see it as you're hiding something. Oh. And I was just like looking at you guys and your mustaches. I'm like, nah, you guys, your mustaches are too awesome to be in politics, you know? And I don't think you guys are shaving them. So, and I'm definitely not shaving either. So, Well, we'll see what happens, but
Well, hell, that's the new look nowadays, right?
it is, man.
Everybody's got a beard.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at each year when it hits November, aka Movember, when people are growing beards and mustaches. And
That's right.
For the, first time or whatever. So
That's right. That's right.
So you were deployed how many times?
I did 5 deployments. I did 3 with SEAL Team 3 because when I went through SEAL training the first time, I didn't make it through SEAL training. So I had to go out to the fleet for 2.5 years. And then I got the opportunity to come back and go through, they call it BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL. I came back, did it again. And by that time, I had already done 2 deployments in what we call the fleet. So I was on a Aegis missile cruiser. Both of my cruises were post 9/11. One was what we called a Gulf cruise, which was right there in the Persian Gulf, and we had a bunch of Tomahawk missiles on our ship, so we were standing by ready to fire those off if needed. And then came back, and then I went through SEAL training, and then I went to SEAL Team 3, and I deployed to Iraq 3 times in 2006, 2008, and 2010.
How many months was you deployed?
The first one was a quick one because I joined the platoon that I ended up in. I joined them halfway. They were already there by the time I graduated, so I was just a brand new guy that showed up to help any way I could. So that was a 3-monther, and then the other two following that were 6 months. Yep.
How'd they treat you when you got there first time?
The first time was actually pretty decent, and most of that just depends on the group that you're with, because it's usually the group that you're with is between 20 and 40 guys. That group was pretty good. As long as you didn't screw up, they didn't mess with you too much. You did all the shitty jobs, right? The new guy jobs. And then the second platoon we got treated like crap. If that you guys have seen that movie American Sniper with Chris Kyle, have you seen that?
All right.
So Chris was my boss from 2006 to 2008. So when I was working for him, we paid the man. We took heavies, but it is what it is. I mean, I definitely see some, anytime you're in an environment like that, there's definitely pros and cons to it, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Now I'm going to jump way off here, man.
Uh-oh.
I saw your wife. Your wife's fucking beautiful. Now, when I saw O'Neill,
Yeah.
His wife's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Now, you got these groupies. Do you have groupies that follow?
Well,
how do you guys?
Yeah.
Look at you, for God's sake.
I know. Look at you, dude. I mean,
you pull a woman like that?
I definitely. I know, dude. This guy.
Whoa!
Dude,
Hey, you're on your own here, Don.
I thought
married up.
I thought we were friends, man. But
I got your back here on a bunch of things, but you're on your own on this one.
No. Well, I think that it's probably a lot like fighters.
Yeah.
I think that, and you guys have a show called Toxic Masculinity, but I think that there is something to be said for guys that have confidence.
Right.
And that's I know that's one of the top things that a lot of women look for, and there's a lot of other things as well, but I've noticed when you're in a high performance group like that tends to be how things play out.
Well, you feed off of each other. I mean, when you with a whole group of men like that, I mean, you just kind of feed off of each other. I mean, that's one of the things I love about the military. It's just like whatever is one person's weakness is someone else's strength, and you have to succeed as a unit. You know, so you're gonna help everyone rise up.
And for me, it's like I think a lot of it is personal standard. Like I didn't want to be a conventional soldier. I wanted to be the best of the best. I wanted to be a SEAL, and I wanted to marry a beautiful girl, and it just so happens that my wife is my best friend, and she's been.
Yeah, see, Dad, I don't look at that as a really lofty goal. I think most men would like to marry a beautiful girl.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but not most men are able to.
Right. Yeah. No, my wife she's awesome, man. She, like I said, we have a 95% divorce rate in the SEAL teams, and so the fact that we did, 3 deployments together, and
I thought professional wrestling was bad for the odds because you're on the road so much. It's kind of like Mary just tend to take the professional wrestling, but I think 95 is actually worse yet. Oof.
Yeah. And it is what it is, but I definitely feel blessed. And that's what I was saying too, that this is one of the reasons I feel like I can actually even do something like this, run for Congress, because my wife is so strong, and we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot together, and I know a lot of. I think I know several men in the community that I think would be phenomenal politicians, phenomenal congressmen.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
But and Don, clearly I was talking about Don, but but they're not in a place in their life or maybe in their marriage where they can do it, and so I am, and so we're gonna give it a shot and see what happens. But
it's great, man.
Yeah,
it's the American way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm humbled in your presence, and I'm ashamed in your presence because, 2001, I was thinking about myself and my family, and how I can compete more and make more money. And you did what I should have done. My biggest shame is never serving in the military. And
yeah.
Actually, Don and I have talked about it a couple of times because it'd be as much we got this podcast called Toxic Masculinity, stuff like that. And even before we even went on air, I was telling you before that a lot of people think I'm military or law enforcement background because I got that Dougie Do-I chin, have the mustache, and the way I'm organized and structured and stuff like that. But it's kind of like going, no, I'm born raised on a farm, and there were certain days that you just knew that there's a format that you got to take care of your animals, stuff like that, before you got taken care of, and you've got to better do that before you jump on the bus. So, but I actually was looking at in high school, upon high school graduation, how am I going to go to college? I kept thinking, well, a couple of my fellow teammates, they had older siblings that upon high school graduation, they went into the military.
Yep.
And then came out and then went to college on the GI Bill. So my first thought is, this is what I'll do. But by my sophomore year, it's like going, I got some college coaches going like, let's look at option number 2. Can we possibly get a scholarship out of this in the process? So that's, again, like Don said, I think that's something that literally almost all Americans really should do upon high school graduation for at least 1 to 2 years. They should go in there to understand. That's all part of that Constitution to understand. America's freedom is not free.
Yeah, I think this would be a much different country if that was the case. Not even a question, hands down. The downside to it is, and I think we saw this during Vietnam when we had a draft, is when the downside to that is that you get people in there that have an attitude because they don't want to be there. Right. And so there's a double-edged sword that comes along with it. When you have an all-volunteer force, you can tell guys, hey, you chose to be here. I don't want to hear it. Lock it up, go do your job. You chose to be here. So I think there's pros and cons, but I think America would be much better as a whole if that was the case.
Well, you end up training the Bloods and the Crips, and gangsters.
That's another downside to do that.
Yeah, you teach them how to handle guns.
Hey, Quinn, we're trying to have a podcast over here. Lord. That's what I love about Bulldogs.
For being a lady, she got a few.
Dude. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
She could store up a storm. Well, okay, let me ask you this here about, our military is changing a lot.
Yeah.
With this new administration. People are leaving. People are being fired.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this?
And then you have them teaching critical race theory in the military.
My younger brother, I always say my little brother, he's not little anymore. He I want to say he's like a major in the Marine Corps. Wow. He's a reservist now, but he was active. He went to the Naval Academy, then he was active duty for many years, and now he's an attorney down in New Orleans. But he's still a reservist. He told me last year actually his commander, somebody left, and so he had to assume the duties. And one of the jobs that he had to do while the commander or whatever was gone was he had to teach this garbage, critical race theory, and just he just had to put out the curriculum. And he said the guy that got the most pissed off about it in their squadron was a black guy. Yeah, he knew it was garbage, and it just this is what happens when we have Marxists, leftists, and communists that have infiltrated every major institution that we have.
Right. Also in the fucking White House.
It's everywhere. It's in academia now. It's in the military now. It's in the Department of Justice now. And it is a cancer. And this is why I think, people are realizing that. I think this is one of the reasons you're seeing so many veterans, running to what I call the sound of political gunfire, just because we know that if we don't jump into this mix quickly, it's going to be unrecognizable, and we will go the way of most empires that have just imploded from within. And I think that's what these folks want. And stay with me for a second, because here's the deal, guys. Nobody is going to vote for a change from capitalism and freedom and the government and the Constitution that we've had when things are going hunky-dory, everything's great, unemployment is down, GDP is up. They have to create chaos. They have to create chaos, corruption, and that's exactly what they've done. And if they can convince you that it's broken and that it was never good in the first place, it's a racist country, that's what you hear them say all the time, it's a racist, misogynistic country, then they can possibly convince folks to change it. And that's ultimately what they want. They want to break it so that they can bring in something that this, socialistic, tyrannical government and country that they've always wanted. And it's unfortunate. And I know it's hard for people to even go there in their minds because, most people don't believe, I don't think that most people realize how evil folks are and what they're capable of doing. But then again, they haven't been on battlefields overseas. A lot of these kids are too young to really think about like the Holocaust or what men have done for power in the past.
Well, that's why my theory is that's why they waited till all the World War II vets died off, and then now they're making the push.
Yeah, I think they've been working on it for a long time, but I think that, to your point, Don, it might be one of the reasons they've been so successful, because a lot of our, my grandfather was in World War II, and a lot of them wouldn't have stood for this.
Right.
And when they were around, they were voices of wisdom and discernment, and they could be watchmen on the wall telling us, don't do that. Right. I've seen it before. Don't do that. This is where it leads. And now you have I think I saw a study recently that 58% of kids coming out of college now think that socialism is a good idea. Right. That's a huge problem.
Or do they even teach about the Holocaust anymore?
I honestly don't know, but I know that my kids learn about that stuff, but then they go to a private Christian school, and so not everybody's getting that.
Totally different than public schools.
No, you're right.
Way better education.
No, you're right, and that's what I want for my kids, and I feel bad that, not everybody gets that, not every kid gets that, because, a lot of these kids are just getting indoctrinated, and it's, you see the product that comes out of it.
We talked, again, I don't mean to interrupt you, Eli, but we talked about this a little bit earlier. I think we were actually off the air at the time. We talked about, like vacationing, and I said that every state's got something beautiful to see about it. And I always say that every high school or college student really should go to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Each of my children have taken different road trips from hell with Dad.
Right.
Because I want them to understand what Dad does is not all that easy to get up and drive, for 40 some odd hours just to go into a place, just to wash my face, run a razor over my face, then to switch up from driving clothes to teaching clothes and walk out onto the mat, then teach for the next 3-4 hours, and then finally go crash out at a hotel. But all my kids have gone to Washington, D.C. with me.
Yeah.
Because I want them to see the various different monuments. They see it on TV all the time, but go there and see some of these different cool museums.
Yeah.
But then go over to Arlington Cemetery.
Yeah.
And when you stand there and no matter what direction you look, and you see how uniform these crosses all are, but know that there's a body there.
Yeah.
And then you watch the changing of the guard of the tomb of the unknown soldier. What a solemn occasion.
Right.
But then you go to the various memorials to where the Vietnam Memorial and then these other memorials that are there with one sweep of the hand across all this marble. How many 50,000 people just died?
I think Vietnam was 50. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean,
freedom is not
when you get to see that, it does make things hit home a little.
And that's what I'm here for to say that I'm big about education the right way, not the propaganda way. And that's why I don't like all the bullshit that people are spewing left and right. To me, it's like everyone's got to be accountable for what comes out of their mouth.
Yeah.
And we got so much bullshit that is coming out. I'll regale you with a story here. I think Mr. Frye's heard this once before. When I was a youngster,
I remember it?
Way back then. No, not with my pet, my dinosaur Dino, no. But I went with my father and my grandfather to an auction.
Okay.
And as we're at the auction, we're kind of walking around, seeing all these cool, there's tractors and all this other kind of stuff. And basically, we come across... I wasn't sure what this name was. Well, my father says, well, it's a manure spreader. And my grandfather says, no, son, that's called the politician. It just spews shit.
Yep.
And I'm like, I still remember that all these decades later, that my grandfather was an uneducated man. I mean, I remember going with him to the granary and where he could not read or write. He actually had to make his mark in the ledger. But the man had a genius of a mind that could put things together and things of that nature. And I always remember he wore his bib overalls, had that pouch of Red Man chew, and always had that chew in there. My father, Copenhagen. Me, neither one.
Were either of them wrestlers?
No, because wrestling did not... But my father was an athlete, a football player, a basketball player, but his school did not have wrestling at that time. Because even my father, I have 4 of the brothers, so the 5 of us went to college on full athletic scholarships. And my father was, even when my older brother and I were doing well, he's like going, Are these guys just that bad that you guys are pinning all these people? And then my father's like going, he goes, you keep doing this thing like a Crane stuff like that. He goes, show that to me. And then all of a sudden I start to show it, and I'm just starting to apply just a little bit. My dad's like, get the hell off of me. He goes, hey, you're about to hurt me. He goes, I'll kick your ass. You know what I mean? Again, that's father. I'm like going, I'm not about to have the wrath of dad come down upon me.
There you go.
But that was always tell people that early in the morning, we had a 2-story house, and all my siblings and I, we had different bedrooms upstairs, and my father, we always knew the 3 of 3s. The first time Dad yelled up the stairs, "We're okay." Okay, Dad. Yeah, we're up, and we just stick a foot off the bed there just enough to thump it a couple times. It sounds like we're moving around. We're still in bed. Dad yells that second time, "Oh, you're moving." Never let him get the number 3, because you come at number 3, he's going to kick your ass.
Right.
There's repercussions.
Yep.
There's no repercussions to people that they can get away and say anything they want. And that's, I think, what's wrong is.
Thank you for watching another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity. You better like, subscribe, and share, or I'm going to come to your house.